Hey, welcome to the Everything SEO podcast. I'm Michaela, a stay-at-home mom of 3 who just happens to be in love with everything related to SEO, blogging, marketing, coffee, and we're shedding light into the many mystifying corners of search engine optimization and what that means for us service providers, small business owners, and bloggers. We're going to ditch the do-it-all narrative surrounding SEO and really sit down and craft strategies that are sustainable, but still get us those first-page results. Now let's get cozy, grab your fave sweater and a cup of tea, and let's talk everything SEO. Hello, and welcome back to Everything SEO. Today, we're going to be talking about systems, and I felt like this was just the next logical step because our last episodes have been, kind of focusing on the fact that most people who are going to come through to your website through SEO have probably never heard of you before. So it is imperative for us to put our best foot forward. And I think systems is one of those ways that we do that so that when we do book clients, they come back or they have a great experience. So I brought on Ashley. Ashley, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello. I am Ashley Tyndall. I am the CEO and founder of Solution Integrators. In a nutshell, I call myself a chief systems officer because it sounds good, but I am a project manager, a system strategist, a tech geek, and I just really love supporting other small business owners in their journey to make more money, save time, do more of what they love, and everything else in between.
I totally understand that. I obviously brought you on here to talk about systems. So where would you start when we go to think about systems? Like, what is the first thing we should think about?
Yep. So I really always like to first differentiate between systems and tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people use those words interchangeably, which I get, but systems are truly the method behind your madness, right? Like the overviewed plans, the day-to-day processes, and then your tools are how you go implement those things. So I always like people to kind of start with kind of almost thinking about, as a client themselves, what are some service providers that you've worked with and, what made it so amazing to work with them, right? Was it clear communication, or you didn't have to guess or worry about it, after they took your money, right? You weren't afraid at that point, right? And then also think about the not so good experiences, right? The ones that suck, the ones that you were like, I will never go back to this person and I'm going to tell everybody not to either, right? Kind of start there. And then from there, it's how do I want to serve my clients, right? What do I want them to see and feel and hear the moment they decide they want to work with me, right? Whether they hop in my DMs or fill out a form about it. What do I want them to experience when they're ready to give me their money? Or, once it's time to get started. So kind of, of course, the tech side, the automations can be the sexy part, but think about the not so sexy stuff of the true, how do I want to manage those clients? What do I want them to see and feel and hear and experience from, again, the moment they say, yep, I think Michaela's cool, I want to work with her, all the way through to, the end of your time together. So always going to start there, that true foundation, because that's what's going to help you to continue to grow. And then the tech and the automation and all the sexy stuff will come along with it later.
So I like to think of that too. I'm like, let's start with the essentials. Let's talk about how we want our blogs to feel and what our end purpose is, and then we can think about the techie SEO stuff, and we'll get into that eventually. But let's make sure that our forward facing, how are people interacting, is kind of taken care of first. Do you see that with better systems, it tends to keep your clients around longer or build referrals?
For sure. I think the number one thing to, having re-signs and referrals is having a cohesive client experience, right? Because if you think about it, yes, if I blow your socks away with my client gift at the very beginning of us working together and, oh, it's amazing. And then once it's time to do the work, I ghost you or you don't hear from me or, deliverables start falling through the cracks. It's like, well, damn, I thought this was going to be such a good experience at first, right? And what happened? And so that will lead to people not wanting to tell folks about you, right? A good chunk of my business, especially through the last 2 years when, things get a little slow or, the market changes, has been referrals, right? Because I know that I take pride in how I serve and serve my clients and deliver my offers, but I want them to choose to tell everybody else about me, right?
Hmm.
So truly having a cohesive client experience, making sure that people, no matter who it is, they're receiving that same experience from start to finish is what's going to lead people to want to tell other people about you, to want to refer a friend, right? And keep them coming back. So really, again, having that foundation of how you serve your clients, showcasing why it is you do what you do, right? Making sure that that's clear from the beginning to end is really going to help people want to tell a friend, or want to keep coming back to work with you, right?
Hmm.
Uh, being able to say, hey, at the end of our time together, I enjoyed it. Here's how else we can continue working together, right? Or, when you're ready, I want you to keep me top of mind, right? Versus they go find somebody else to fix what you did or finish what you were supposed to finish, right? So it's truly, again, it might not be the sexy stuff at first, but the simple things that people tend to overlook of like clear communication, doing the things that I said I was going to do, right? Maybe being transparent in like where
Hmm.
we are in the process and working together, how I can help you in the future, right? Like, yeah, we're working here now, but these are the other things that I offer and deliver. So, you don't have to go anywhere else. You can come back to me to continue working together, right? But all of those things, those little things turn into big things that keep people wanting to come back to you.
Definitely. And then I feel like systems ties so well with SEO because the goal a lot of people have with SEO or a lot of businesses have with SEO is they, if they want to take a break, they can and they don't have to worry about like inquiries dropping off because they still have traffic coming in or maybe they physically can't show up on social media to continue marketing their business
Yep.
and they need something to fall back on and I feel like systems kind of pairs well with that.
Definitely. Like I think of like one of the big things with SEO and systems is like that, like you said, that initial inquiry process,
Hmm.
right? And making sure like whether you found me through Google or a friend sent you or you found me on Instagram, you're going to get the exact same experience when it comes to that initial inquiry process with me, right? You're going to fill out a form. I'm going to review it, make sure we're a good fit, but you're going to be redirected to a page that's, tracking my events in Google Analytics that's going to tell you more about me, right? It's going to
Hmm.
help you see and hear my voice and get to know about me a little bit more. And you're going to go through the same, process. You're going to receive a call, all of those things. So it no matter where you're finding me, of course, we want everybody to find us through Google. That's to me, that's always the easy. You're like, Michaela, you have the hard work, right? of getting us found. But once we're found, right, we want those people to have, again, the same cohesive experience of if they found me through any other channel. So that's always like the big thing that a lot of people that I work with, and I'm like, well, yeah, if they go to my website, this happens. But if they go here, then this happens. So it's truly being able to say, no matter how you find me, they're going to get the same experience. And that's why they're going to come back even, later to work with you or tell a friend to come work with you.
And it does make a difference. I can say from experience that I switched from indie, which is like, I think at the time it was $9. I don't know if it still is. I was like, I'm going to save some money and I'm going to do indie and move all my inquiry forms and everything into there. It's great and user friendly. And I had been in Dubsado and I was like, I can't navigate Dubsado. I've had it for years. And then I was like, okay, indie's just not doing it. I need something that's a little bit more comprehensive and can do what I need. So I switched to HoneyBook. And what I forgot to do was change because I didn't have it on my contact form. I think it was in the middle of when I was doing my website update. And so I had people inquiring to work with me through Indie and
Mm-hmm.
also through HoneyBook. And it was terrible because I felt like I was dropping the ball on people who were in Indie because I didn't get the notifications because I had pretty much done everything but deactivated my account. I was like, if I would have just taken the extra step to just audit myself or go back and check with myself on where I had dropped this link, this little disconnect would not have happened. So I can definitely say that. And then side note, when I saw that you added, because I think when you added a video for inquiries, like right after they inquire, I think I saw it on social media. I was like, that is a genius idea. And I love it as an SEO because, a lot of this traffic is fresh traffic. And if that's your goal, like you have other platforms that you get traffic from, and they're going to appreciate that video so just as much. But I feel like it's just taking that little extra step to introduce yourself, get a little bit more familiar, and kind of see how the entire process is going to go. So I think that was a great idea, honestly.
Yeah, I like to call it like adding your secret sauce to things, right? Because with everything, there's always going to be somebody else that does what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how can you kind of kind of stand out a little bit more? And it doesn't have to be all these bells and whistles and fireworks when somebody lands on your website, but just little things to be like, man, I got to actually, yes, I filled out a form and I got to wait to hear back from Ashley, but I can meet her. I can, it's a way to see her personality and hear her voice and be like, okay, that's what's going to happen next. I'll keep an eye out for that email, right? It takes them to a link to my service guide or a link to Instagram, right? They usually come follow me there. We might start a conversation and they're like, you know what? I don't even need to meet. Just I'll give you the money. But it's just a way to add your secret sauce. And it's little things like that can just help you stand out. Like you said, for that true organic traffic of maybe, they haven't found me through Instagram. They've never met with me before. It's a way for them to kind of connect with me in a way.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you in your systems, do you bring them back to like other ways to connect? So like, do you introduce them to your Instagram and maybe like, I don't know if you have a Facebook page, but other ways versus just working with you?
Yep. So I usually always kind of mention, drop Instagram there because it's a necessary evil.
Pretty much at this point.
Right. But I will spend a decent amount of time there. I don't send people to Threads yet because I don't know if people are ready for that version of me. But, I send them through Instagram and I send them to my service guide, which the service guide is like the TLDR version of my website, right? Of like, look, you need this is that service. You need this is that service. So that when we hop on a call, they're like, yeah, I know what I need, like.
I've already done the work.
Also, right.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's just another added way, right, of kind of being able to connect with you. Usually people will go to Instagram and be like, oh, I saw, once we hop on a call, this post or I saw your story about you doing this and that's what I need, right? I know I had a lead recently who like verbatim, she was telling me everything that she needed in a person or a project manager. And it was literally my website, it's copy in my Instagram post, right? And I'm like, well, damn, let's
you're saying word for word.
Right. Like you're selling me for me. So thank you.
I love when it works out that way. But that means like you've really narrowed down your messaging right there.
For sure.
And then I think this all brings back into the first episode of the series. I talked with Callie from Honeycomb, and we were talking about branding because when Google leaked not too long ago, we did see that, branding does play a factor, and kind of leaning into our personal brand is how we're really gonna start showing up. And she was like, really, it's all about consistency. Like once you establish your branding, just having that consistency. And I feel like systems are neglected typically.
Definitely.
Like as someone who DIY'd 90% of everything until this past year, systems are neglected. And I think we don't always see the value in them because we're like, we want to see something that we see, when we get our branding done, we get our branding handed to us. When we get our website done, we get to look at our pretty website or even our copy. We're like, okay, this sounds amazing. And then our systems, we're like, okay, we still see it. Mm-hmm. But I can't show it to the world until somebody inquires.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of the clients that come to me are like, man, I spent all this money on this branding and this website and all of this, but then they receive my Dubsado proposal or my Honeybook, proposal, and it sucks. Or it doesn't, not consistent, right? I don't want to say it sucks. That's probably bad, but. So I really, really love to work with my clients to make sure, again, everything from hello to here's my proposal to take my money to, hey, here's how we get started is consistent from your website all the way through to, whatever other platforms you want to use to communicate with your clients. So I know that, like you said, it's an afterthought, right? Of, yep, my website is the first focal point. But then once they receive your proposal, like if they're receiving proposals from three other web designers or brand designers, how can you make sure that you're still standing out? Like they open up that proposal, like, who's this from? And like it's
Like, why
not,
is this in my inbox?
why is this here? Right. So just truly, again, like that, it's that little secret sauce of, making sure things are cohesive from one place to another. Your messaging is the same, your branding is the same. The pricing, I mean, I've been on the side of, well, your website told me one price. I got a proposal. It told me a whole nother price.
Oh no.
Just little things like that, right? Of like, man, if you just took an extra step or extra minute to, kind of put yourself in your client's shoes and walk through your own process, that little things like that can help you to really kind of identify like, man, here's where I can add an extra step. Here's where I can do something that helps me stand out from all the other people that talk about systems and tech and processes, right? So yeah, systems are an afterthought, it's I want to grow fast. So let me get a website up. Let me make sure my branding is, killer. Great. But then once the clients come in, then what? Right? The leads start coming in, then what? Right? If you're forgetting about them or they're falling through the cracks or you're not keeping your end of the deal when it comes to, service delivery, all the money you spent up front is a waste at that point, right? Because you weren't prepared for those leads to start coming in. They spend money with you for SEO, and it's like, bam, well, now I get all these Google leads, but I can't handle them because I didn't take the time to focus on the back end of my business. Right? So it's like you said, it always comes full circle of like, you can't do one without the other. Understand starting somewhere. You pick one, you focus your energy. But, systems become an afterthought when they shouldn't be.
They definitely do. And I think at this point, we have so many resources that even if you can't afford to outsource it completely, there is a way to make your client experience really smooth and like your back-end systems really smooth without having to hire someone. Like obviously hiring someone is probably going to get you the best results because I say this, we're some of the owner is sometimes the worst person to work in their own business on something that's like out of their zone of expertise, like because you feel uncomfortable. You're not always thinking about like the other side of things. We're very guilty of that. We're like, I know what they need. In reality, we don't know what they need. I get into that a lot with blogging because we're an expert. We like to sometimes either talk a little too high when we're trying to explain something, or sometimes we over explain and it ruins our user experience and it's just not great for our reader. And I feel like that comes across here but we have DIY resources that we can look into. I know there's copy templates, there's actual templates for automations, proposal templates. Like there's a lot that you can do to take that extra step. And I mean, there's even blog posts that just say, hey, send the welcome gift, send a thank you note at the end, keep in touch, give them a guide at the beginning telling them when to expect certain things. And one of the things that I really love about your systems is, I've purchased one of your digital products in the past and everything is hosted in Thrivecart and everything's right there. So like if I want to grab another product, it's right there. And every time that I go in to look at, and you have a video explaining, and then you have I think you have a form to fill out if we have any pressing questions or anything like that or need assistance. So I thought that was really cool. It's very friendly for the user. And I purchased a lot of digital products. Very guilty. And not all of them have that support system. Yeah. So that's just another way, especially as people going into SEO. We have our blog posts. We want to sell our digital products. It is a way to make our businesses more profitable. But we have to be able to get those great testimonials and reviews and feedback to continue and actually grow that digital product suite. So I think that's really cool as well. At what point, all right, so if someone is going to hire, at what point do they hire? Because I know copy comes before design. Normally branding comes before that. So where does kind of systems fit in?
Yeah, I like to say systems fits in two places, honestly. So, of course, at the very beginning, once you decide to start a business, whatever, you got to kind of think through, like, how the hell do I want to serve these people, right? But once you truly have a proven offer, once you've had a few clients, buy your services, enjoy the service that you delivered, that's where you can continue to refine it, right? A lot of people will kind of want to set up a process, define a full client experience, set up the tech, but you've never had a single lead or a single client come through this, right? So like you said, as the owner, we think we know best a lot of times, but the clients might be like, man, that was, too much pre-work or not enough, or I didn't fully understand what it is you actually wanted me to do in order for this service. So once you truly have a proven offer, you're clear on what it is that you want to deliver. And not to say that systems are like a set it and forget it, right? They should always continue to grow and evolve as you grow as a business owner. I feel like I always have, there's always a one client that you're like, you know what? I need to go make this change so that I never go through this again, right? There's always that one. You might have that one, once a year, right? But once you have a proven offer that's making you money, a lot of times my clients come to me where they grew really, really fast, right? And that's awesome. But then it's like, okay, but I'm hitting a bottleneck, and I'm that bottleneck because I'm doing everything manually.
Yeah.
Or I know things can be simplified, or maybe I'm ready to hire and I don't even know where, I can't even hand off anything to a person because everything's a mess. So once you truly are confident in what you do and how you do it, your secret sauce for delivering your offers, that's where you take the time to truly refine your systems. I think they kind of come along the way, of course, but at that point you can refine it to kind of help you go to whatever that next is. And I always, when I say the word scaling to people, I know a lot of times people think money, but truly like scaling can be whatever you want it as, right? For me, it's like, how can I scale to the point where I don't have to do as much, or it's not, as much me. I can spend more time with my family or do more of what I love as a part of my business, and then have somebody help me with everything else, right? Whatever that scaling or that next means for you, like once you get to that point of like, look, I'm making money, I'm good at what it is I do, but I can't continue to grow, or I can't continue to run my business this way. Usually that's like you got a problem, like that indicator, that check engine light at that point for you to be like, you know what, I need to get help and go from there.
I think it's a pretty good sign. I was actually just thinking, I was like, you don't really have to wait on branding specifically, or a website, or at least like to professionally do them, because you can tweak you can tweak your systems for your branding. You can add it in later if you've got a good system for how you do your clients. Like, it can last, I would say, for a good while, right?
Sure, for sure.
Anyway, so I think we've covered a good bit of stuff today. Now, do you have like an actionable tip or something that they can walk away with today, or anybody listen and can either shift the way that they think about their systems, or something that they could, just step away and go ahead and do to improve their systems?
Yeah, I have a new freebie, and I created it just in time for like summertime, or for when you want to really kind of step away. But the freebie is all around using systems to help you enforce boundaries in your business. So whether it's enforcing boundaries with clients or yourself, because I think business owners, we cross our own boundaries. This really is going to help walk through different phases of your processes or client experience, and say, hey, here's where having, good systems in place can relieve a whole lot of stress and heartache and, anxiety. And so I'm sure, I'll drop that link with you, but it includes templates and, clear examples that I use in my own business, right? Of the way that I've decided of how I want to show up as a CEO. And so that will really help you to kind of think through the rest of this summer, or, once the kids are back in school, or next time you decide you want to go on vacation, or just ghost your business, right? Because to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just want to ghost your business and it still run, without you. But this will just really help you to kind of, again, enforce those boundaries for yourself and for your clients, but using systems to help you do that.
I am. Also, that will be linked in the show notes below. And as our just little final note, is there any way that they can work with you?
Yeah, I go full geek working with people. I love doing done for you work. So I do offer both done with you in a 90-minute session, whatever we can get done in that 90 minutes live, I'm going to hop into whatever tech and get it done. I have more project-based done for you work. So tech setup, strategy, mapping out client experiences, all the things. But I also have a goodie shop for the DIYers who are like, yep, I just want to go do it myself. Like Michaela mentioned, I'm really big on helping you to actually implement these templates versus just it being another product that you download. So you'll always have access to submit questions at any time because, again, I like geeking out, but I want you to actually use these templates. So you can come over to my website, solutionintegrators.us, and it has all the goodies that you need, really.
I can agree. I absolutely love the Business Hub. It's been kind of a lifesaver for tracking everything, especially in this year because I went through a period of growth and I did not have anything set up just in case, and I definitely should have. So that was me coming in afterwards and being like, okay, if this happens again, I need to make sure this is here. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Ashley. There is going to be another interview next week. We have had quite a few guests, and I hope you've enjoyed all of them so far. As always, our SEO checklist will be in the show notes as well if you want to get started on SEO, but that is it. Thank you. As always, I hope you are able to learn at least one new thing today and how you can apply it to your own business or blog. Thanks for listening to this episode of Everything SEO. Don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. It's a goodie, and check the show notes for everything we talked about today. And come connect with me on Instagram at comamama.co if you have any questions or thoughts you want to share. Talk soon.